Well, we were talking off camera, just your life was totally structured as an NFL player, as a college player, and now life is just all about you. So what's the transition been like between being an NFL player and now just being your own man and being a dad full time?
No, it was tough. I think a lot of people can relate to that, whether, you know, they had a job or a relationship and they got laid off or they broke up with their boyfriend or girlfriend. It's tough to start over, right? But you try to take the lessons that you learned from that long relationship with your employer or with your significant other and allow it to create a new beginning for yourself. So starting this book, writing this book and getting it out to the world is part of me making that transition into my life after football.
And I think what's awesome about your story and Leah's story is that you guys have used your platform to help people all around the world, and this book is the next part of that. So you were saying before, it felt like a long time that it took to write this book. So why was it the right time to write this book, and what was it like putting it all out there?
You know, I was inspired one day to put this book out there. I never had the intention on, you know, writing a book about my life, about what I happened to go through with Leah. But I felt like people needed to hear this story. The amount of people who reach out to me on Instagram and ask for advice, you know, I try to write everybody back, but there's so many messages that I thought putting it in a book would really give people a playbook to get back into the game of life with whatever struggle they're facing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think it's really interesting because you have some time to look back on things now. And, you know, emotionally, you kind of talked about your vulnerability in that moment. And you're never prepared for something like that when your daughter becomes sick. But what are some of the things that you look back on it now and you're proud of the way you handled some things? And what are some things that you would do a little bit differently?
Yeah, writing this book was really therapeutic, just going back and reliving, you know, some of those moments and putting it down on the paper and being as transparent as I can so that people can really see themselves in my struggle. You know, I'm really glad that I gave Leah's battle with cancer a purpose, because I believe when you give your struggles a purpose, when you give your life a purpose, it's harder to give up because you understand why you're doing what you're doing. But one thing that I regret is not being vulnerable enough in front of Leah, not allowing myself to cry in front of her because I thought I had to be strong for her in order for her to be strong. And when we were writing this book, I found out that a lot of the times when I was getting off of FaceTime with her and I was breaking down and crying, she was also breaking down and crying when we hung up the phone. So I really wish that I would have allowed myself to be more vulnerable so we could have just sat on the phone crying together.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think God puts us through different journeys in our lives, and obviously you and Leah have had this journey, but how have you guys grown emotionally just over the last couple of years? Where's your relationship at now with everything?
You know, our relationship has always been great. From the day that she was born, we always had a close relationship. You know, that's my firstborn, and I love that girl to death. And I think that having that bond with her, having that relationship with her is what carried us through this battle. So we just kept that same relationship. To be honest, I don't think that our relationship could have got better. It just exposed our relationship to the world.